hands, we're reaching out to see you move again. We can hardly wait. Come flood this place. We're ready now. It's all about to change. Let your kingdom come. Let your will be done. Let your fire fall. Let your fire fall. Open the heavens. Pour your spirit out on us. Unleash your presence. Jesus, come alive in us. Open the heavens.
Boom. There it is. All right, 30 seconds. 29, 28.
This time, this place, it's yours. Unlock the gates and open up the doors. Let your
Good. Jordan, you can bring the music down too. That'll be another cue for people to come in.
open the heavens. Pour your spirit out on us. Unleash your presence.
All right, as you come in and find a seat or grab refreshments, a couple house cleaning pieces. We have some financial reports up here. Feel free to grab one. If you can limit it to one per household, that would help the earth. So I hear.
Darkness trembles, mountains shake. What was dead now comes awake.
And if you are joining us online, we do have this available on Facebook and YouTube. Feel free to engage in the chat. Hopefully we should have a couple of folks on there to engage as well with you there.
In the dark night, I was wondering, and then you called my name.
Is everyone in here who would like to be present for the meeting? Anyone else outdoors that would like to come in?
You took my shame and you set my feet to dancing. Now I'm forever yours, and you are mine now. Running wild, throwing chains off in freedom. Lord, you have saved us, free to shout out your name and your glory. All for you, Jesus. Running wild in your freedom.
Awesome. Well, hey, welcome again to our first of 4 quarterly meetings that we'll have as a church. How we've done it in the past has been we've had a one meeting a year, essentially, our annual meeting. What we were hoping to do this year to increase our communications with the congregation and to include you more in a lot of the discussions is just do it more frequently. So that's what we're going to try this year. This is the first of a few. What I want to start with, though, is if we could thank Ryan Aldrich for bringing all this food in and beverages, if we could. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you so much. Man of many talents. Otherwise, I'm going to hand it over to this guy. This guy.
Hey. I think most... My mic time now. Did anybody get this report? Anybody? Anybody want this report? It looks like a lot of numbers and categories and Excel fun. That's our finances. Come on, people. Hey, I think most of you know Pastor Jordan and Carissa, and so I don't know if Jordan, where did Jordan just go? I was going to ask him to open us in prayer. Jordan? I'm going to pray because I like it. Okay. Jesus, thank you that this is your church. We are your creation. You created this land. You have blessed us with resources. Your word says in James chapter, I think it's 3 or 5, that every good and perfect gift comes from the Father of lights, that is not changing like shifting shadows. So every good and perfect thing is from you. So may we be good stewards of the years and the weeks and the months that you've given us to breathe, the dollars that you've blessed us with in our account, and every piece of square footage of this land. May we please you, Jesus, and further and expand your kingdom. Thank you for this opportunity. So continue to bind us together with unity. Continue to give us vision and forward momentum of what you want us to do next. We thank you for the past, and we're excited for the future. Amen. Okay, I need my computer because I don't know what order we're doing everything, and here it is. Okay. Hey, who's here and is not a member of the church? You're not an official member. Anybody? If you would like to be, there are pieces of paper in the back. Ryan, can you grab those real quick? Oh, Lena has. They look like this. They got the red circle on them. This stuff. Can you hand it these guys? Oh, you already got it. Good. This is how you go to our website, and it tells you what to do. We did a series called DNA, and it's kind of like who we are, what we are. And then you watch those, and it gives you all the instructions, and then you'll meet with me, and we can talk through what it means to be a member of this church. So if you're not a member, we ask you not to vote on this stuff yet, but if you are a member, we ask everyone to vote. Okay, I'm going to have Tony introduce our board nominees, and so we have individuals that have been on the board before, that are currently on the board, but every year we need our church legally to endorse who our board of directors are, and so their bios are in the back, but Tony's going to have introduced them.
I thought I had way more time to get food. So, yeah. Okay. We have 4 board nominees this year. The church's history has had a number of different iterations of how many board members, and we are just selecting the best and brightest among us. No, it just for some reason so happened to turn out that way. But what we have is 3 board members who are returning. 3 returning board members and 1 brand new person. So let me run through them. But bios, I think, are still available somewhere. So hopefully you're looking at that. But we are welcoming back Natalie Grindy, who is right there. We are also welcoming back Christy Morgan, who is right beside her. Welcoming back Jason LaChance right here. And I don't think I saw David Connor here, but that's the new board member. Dave and Susie Connor have been coming to the church for some time. I don't know how many years. They are the parents of Katie Kosich, Katie and Ryan Kosich, who have been also long-standing members here. Dave is amazing servant leader. He's been involved in his church down in Oroville for 30-plus years, led many small groups, and he's actively participating with Terrence in leading our growth track on Wednesdays. Just a wise, godly individual, and you can find his bio in that sheet. So how we do voting every year is all online through a Google form. So if you haven't been able to do that yet, that'll be open until maybe 12:15. 12:10. Just get it done. That's all. And then our first board meeting will be right after this meeting's done. So that's how we'll welcome him in. That is the board. Any questions regarding that process? Also, a reminder of the duration of service this year, or this iteration, and we're asking for 19 months because we're in the process of changing our fiscal year over to September through August rather than calendar year based, really to help us with budgeting and to help us get away from the holidays a bit in all of our prep. Putting all that stuff together in January, it's just we're all kind of wiped out. So we're hoping that the fiscal year, September through August, will serve us better. Speaking of financials, I want to just run through a couple of quick points before we continue our meeting or move on in our meeting. What I want to do is give a high-level kind of outlook on where we're going. Do I have Jordan? Could I have you back at the computer, por favor? But to just condense this report that you have, I have a few slides that I just want to go through. This first one is expenses. We break up our expenses. We break them up into 3 categories: ministry expenses, operating expenses, and personnel expenses. And what I'm just showing, again, from a high-level view is the breakdown of those in comparison to 2020. Excuse me, 2020. We're looking at 2021 to 2020. That's what it is. So everything in blue is 21. Everything in orange is 20. These last 2 years have been really weird for a lot of organizations, but God is amazing and has blessed us and provided in huge ways. But what you can see is ministry expenses have grown this last year. And it's not $100 that we spent. Those are all in thousands. Can everyone see that? It's behind the light. When I showed Terrence this, he's like, wow, we've spent $400 on personnel expenses. No, those are in thousands. So ministry expenses, what we like to see every year is that those continue to go up as a percentage of our annual budget, and it's somewhere around 12% of everything we take in goes out to ministry expenses. That's outreach, kids programming, all that stuff. Operating expenses are keeping the lights on, utilities, keeping the grounds up, all that. That usually hovers around 20 to 25% of our budget. That has gone down, which is awesome. We always want to see those go down, but it's not always the case. But in last year, for sure, we wanted to tighten our belt in anything we could with operating expenses, as we haven't had as much programming on the property as typical. Personnel expenses have expanded a bit in bringing on new staff, because what we believe is that moving forward, we need to continually invest in raising up more people to come into the church, serve in the church, get plugged in, and we see that best done through staffing. So we love that we brought on Jordan to help oversee and advance our youth ministries, and expanded roles, and it's just amazing the team we have. So we're very thankful for that. If we move into the next slide, which will show our income, I believe. Donations. We break our donations up into 2 categories: unrestricted and restricted. Restricted are those things that have a specific use, whether that's building fund or a TRLP program, anything that's got a tag on it. But on the left side, unrestricted donations, 2020 to 2021, as I shared a couple weeks ago, I don't know what happened, but God was amazing. And like I've shared before, I count that as a huge responsibility looking into 2022. And as Terrence shared, moving into 2022, reconnecting and re-engaging the church is going to be priority number 1. We're going to figure out how to do that. So, and then restricted donations, slightly lower, because I think it was 2020 that we ran some building fund campaigns. I believe the next slide, I want to just give context to this amazing act of God in the giving. What we can do is we can assess, evaluate our giving based off of giving units, which we count as a household, a family. And in 2020, we had 216 giving units. And then 2021, 173. So our giving units have declined. And if you've been around here for a while, you've also noticed attendance doesn't look like it did pre-COVID. And a lot of churches are experiencing this and trying to figure out what does it mean moving forward. But even in light of that, or in spite of that, God still was tremendously gracious to us. So we count it as a privilege, but what we want to see is greater engagement, greater connection, greater community, that this coming year and the years to follow, more of our community get plugged in to just know and serve Jesus. So that's what we're going to focus on. I think that's what I have for financials. We're going to have a big extended Q&A time at the end, so feel free to write your questions down if you have a short-term memory span like I do. And and we'll address those then. I think that's my lot. I think it's back to you, Tara. No, voting is going to be closing in 10 minutes. I'll give you 10 minutes. All right.
Cool. Now what we want to do is, first and foremost, let you know what face and name goes with what ministry responsibility when it comes to staff. And staff are really going to be the hub, the central spoke, as it were, to help empower and resource our whole church family. A ministry doesn't exist just because somebody's on staff and gets so many hours a week to make it happen. It happens because the whole church body can get behind it. And so I think this is a really great opportunity for us to have some of our staff team, and some are full-time, and I think this would be good. If you could kind of just say your name, how long you've been on staff, what you do, and like how many hours, like if you're full-time or if how many hours a week you're doing, so everyone can kind of get a grip on this. So first I want to invite Ryan. These are in no particular order of importance. We're just going to do this. So this is, Ryan's going to talk about our Tahoe Resident Leadership Program a bit and who he is.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Aldrich, and I've been with the church for about 4 years, and came on full-time staff just about two and a half years ago. And it's been a privilege to be starting a program that the church has just gone all in on. And if you can remember a series that Terrence gave, it was all in. It was at a time when I was praying and listening to God and just wondering what my next step in my career was going to be. And it just happened to be at this time when he gave this all in. He was also talking about this leadership program. And I was also considering this other opportunity. I'm like, I'm going all in with this. And it's been that way ever since. The leadership program is really about equipping our next generation of young adults. And it is for college-age students. And we have a summer internship program for 10 weeks and then a year-long residency program. And it's really about pouring into them and growing them as leaders, giving them an opportunity to pick a ministry pathway for them to focus in and grow. It's also servant leadership, and just an opportunity for them to kind of peel the curtains back on a church and experience that. So Terrence has asked us, is this where we're able to share wins? One win and then a prayer for this ministry. A win has absolutely been the residents that we've had. We've had 3 cohorts of residents come in, and every single one of them have just been such a blessing to this church, to the greater community. It's a win for me every day to be able to sit down and just hear from them, to work with them, to see them grow, to see their hearts, to see how God is working through their life. It's a win I could just give every Tuesday in our staff meetings, but it is our big win that I would share with our church families to have this cohort. And a prayer for this ministry is for our residents. Just a prayer for them, our past residents, our current residents, to have God continue to work in their lives just as they prepare to transition to whatever journey they're headed on, just to pray for them. They're here to grow. They're here to seek God's wisdom and love. And it's just such a blessing to see this community support them. So my request to all of you is just to pray for our residents. And I'm around afterwards to answer more questions. But that's my opportunity to share a little bit more about our ministry. Thank you.
Cool. Let's have Pastor Jordan come on up. And Jordan's title is Pastor of Next Gen. So that is everything from high school, middle school, and he's also over our kids ministry as well and being a resource to our kids staff. So Jordan.
Good morning. If we haven't met yet, I would love to meet you afterwards, get to talk with you a little bit more. But like Terrence said, I'm Jordan. I grew up in Oregon, and spent the last 7 years in Seattle as a youth pastor, doing a lot of different things at a big church there, and then felt God's leading to for Carissa and I and our family to come join here at Tahoe.Church back in August. And it's been a huge pleasure, and we're super excited to be here. Excited for the things that God's going to continue to do through Tahoe.Church going forward for hopefully many years. When I first came, my goal with the student ministries and children's ministries and just coming in as a pastor is just to listen and get to know people, just to kind of understand the culture a little bit better. And so I want to give that plenty of time. And so for the first several months, that's what I spent most of my energy on, is just understanding how does this church function and who are the people here and what is Truckee like. So I've been doing that a lot, and I think I've still got a lot to learn. But I've really enjoyed that time. And now we're starting to kick it into gear and say, now what changes do we need to make in order to make this ministry really blossom and really take off in a lot of ways? So I've been focusing a lot on student ministries recently. And so we're making some small changes to that. Evan and Connor was helping lead it for a while, and the residents have all been doing a great job. I know Jody was working hard in student ministries as well. And so they did a lot of great things to help build up the student ministries and serve students in this area well. And we believe altogether that there's more that God wants to do in the lives of students in Truckee. And so some of the changes that we're making may seem small, but I think they'll make a big difference. So one change we just started here in January is we split up middle schoolers and high schoolers. Previously, they were meeting together in one big group, which was great in a lot of ways, and there's a lot of pros to that. But we believe that by splitting them up, it's going to allow us to serve each group a little bit better and find things that fit that age group and that life stage a little bit better, and help make a more comfortable environment for them and help keep students safe in a lot of ways. So we made that split, and on Tuesday nights, they meet separately now. So we bring our middle schoolers together, and we have worship, and we have a student-led worship team that one of our residents helps oversee, along with some of our high school students as a part of that. We've been developing that so that they can serve middle schoolers in that way. We have a message. Someone comes up and teaches. Evan's taught a lot. Some of our residents have all had opportunities to come and teach as well, and I teach in that every once in a while. And then they break up into small groups, and they have conversations every other week about what they heard the previous week. So we're developing that to make it a great space for middle schoolers. And then after middle schoolers are done, they leave, and high school shows up. In high school, what they do on Tuesday nights, we don't do the big message, we don't do the big worship band, we don't do big games, as much as that is fun, and we love that, and that's all important. But what I think is really important, especially for high schoolers and their level of maturity, is to get in circles and have conversations with leaders about the Bible. And so we've changed Tuesday nights to be focused primarily on small groups. And our goal for that is that they would learn to have biblical conversations and develop spiritual friendships, real, meaningful friendships. And so on Tuesday night, we're doing that and have several different groups with adult leaders over it. And right now we're going through the book of James from beginning to end. And Annalise is helping write those and put them together and help our leaders feel resourced and able to lead that group well. And then, as you might have heard, once a month we're doing one nights, which is the time where we're hoping that high schoolers can come and do all the big, crazy games and make it wild. We're going to have a message that's always focused on the gospel and who Jesus is, and a big worship band. This morning, our band played for Sunday, for the gathering earlier, and they're going to also be playing later tonight, and they did a great job. I'm super excited for them. They've been doing awesome. And our main goal for one nights is to get as many high school students around. We want one nights to be the best thing that happens for high schoolers every month, to get as many in as possible, with the goal of then helping them transition into small groups where they can really grow as disciples of Jesus. And so that's our goal with student ministries. That's some of the direction we've been going. I'm excited for the steps we're making. Tonight's the first one, so if you can be praying for that, we'd love to. We covet your prayers. We need them. So please pray for tonight that students would show up and they'd hear the name of Jesus and that they'd respond to the gospel. One story I'd like to share with you is a win that's happened so far. On my very first Sunday here, there was a student who came to visit, and he had just moved to Reno with his family, and he drove up and came to a Tuesday night service. His name's Bernard, and I met him that very first day, and I was like, hey, how long you been here? He's like, this is my first day. Me too. Perfect. And so we hit it off, and we were talking for a while, and he kept coming back every week. He eventually got plugged into the worship band. He played keyboard, and we got him involved in that, and he kept coming back. And then he ended up moving back to San Francisco, and now he's been driving back every so often just to come be a part of the community that he's in. He's built some friends there. He's really appreciated the leaders that have poured into him and cared for him, and he just wants to be around because he's seen what it looks like to develop spiritual friendships and have meaningful conversations around the Bible. And he craves that, and we want to see more of that. There's a lot more stories I could tell, but that kind of thing, willing to drive the 3.5, depending on traffic, 6 hours back, just be here when he can, is a testament to the amazing leaders we've had and the residents and the work they've been putting in, and a testament to what God is going to do in this church and through that ministry. And so keep praying for us. Pray for people that they would respond in the way that Bernard responds, that we'd be able to continue to care for students in that way. So if you have any questions, or if I've talked about small groups and what it looks like to be a small group leader, I'd love to talk to you about the opportunity to do that. It's an amazing way to take whatever wisdom God has been pouring into you and then pass that on to the next generation and to a group of people who want to hear what you have to say, to a group of students who are there to sit in a circle and talk with you and hear what you have to say and share what they have to say and mentor them. And so I'd love to talk with you about that or anything else around the ministry, or if you want to talk about my wife, I love talking about her too. We could do that. So, yeah, any questions, let me know. Thank you very much.
All right, let's talk about kids. Is the illustrious Kate Sutton in the house?
I love our church family. I'm Kate Sutton. I'm also Terrence's wife, but I've had the privilege to be on staff for a little over 3 years running kids ministry. Put on that hat after Kathy. Thank you, Kathy. And by the way, Kathy just retired after 12 years serving at kids ministry, so that was awesome. Thank you. I work part-time, 12 hours a week at the church. I have so much to praise God about. When our doors have been open the last 2 years, we've always had the classroom doors open. It takes this entire village to pull that off. We have one other person on staff, Juliana Elia. She couldn't be here for this meeting, but she is on staff 8 hours a week and really helps with the volunteer coordination and onboarding new volunteers. And we use a curriculum that goes chronologically through the Bible. So our curriculum is scripture-based. In over 3 years' time, they hear 150 Bible stories, all centered around the message of Jesus. And she's a pillar in getting that all figured out. We have 48 volunteer spots a month. And again, it takes this entire village. If I haven't met you yet, I'll meet you, and then I'll ask you if you want to serve in kids. And a couple weeks ago, Elena did a Mission Over Me Sunday. So I have a praise that we have about 3 brand new people that are new to our church that have also signed up to serve in ministry. And I wrote down something else here too. And what's just so neat is that we have 3 children, 2 third graders and a second grader, and they really know the volunteers and the teachers. They know Emily, and they talk about Emily. They know Lindy. They know you, and you know them, and that's what's so powerful is that they can grow up with, they may not have immediate grandparents here or aunts and uncles, but they see this church family as their family. And the example that you give as people of faith goes such a long way. It's one thing for mom and dad to tell them what to believe, but to see them make their faith their own based on your example is so powerful. And I'm so privileged to work amongst this ministry. A couple just quick prayer requests is just, will you pray for our children and the parents? The last couple years have been really hard for people to find community and connection, and I know just as pastor's wife, we've walked with some hard situations that families are going through, and the kids wear that pressure and that heartache on their sleeves as well. So we need prayer just for our children and the parents And we're doing an exciting thing this summer. We're going to have a full-time, week-long kids camp. And I need all of you to help me. So prayer for the workers. If you could give an hour or two of your time or come for a day, there'll be more information to come. But just the constant recruitment of you influencing the lives of the kids would just be so special to us. So I'm praying for that. And we have a couple of church-wide campouts coming out that up this summer that we're looking forward to, and we need help, always need help. Thank you.
You can tell Kate's been in ministry for a couple decades because she's always recruiting. That's the mark of a person who's worked at a church before. Now we're going to have worship. So Pastor Tony hopefully got to eat his wraps, and
It was amazing. Cool. So, hi. Hi, would you like a spot? Hi. Hi. So, my name's Tony, if we haven't met. It may not look like it, but I'm the old man of the group because I've been here for 16 years. I came on staff 15 years ago, initially to lead worship, and then that role has expanded some. I manage a couple departments. One department is the finances and the accounting. So we have a staff member that helps with our bookkeeping. She's not here today. Her name is Kelly Lind. She does 6 hours a week with bookkeeping, and I'm very thankful for her. And then was able to bring on another individual to help me with grounds, facilities, and maintenance, and that is Russ Walsh right here. Yeah. He does miss his officer role deeply, and I help him through a lot of crying and counseling sessions. But I'm really glad to work with him, and he serves with us 16 hours a week, and we need 5 more of him. So those are the teams I lead and the staff. But when it comes to worship, which is what I'm supposed to be focused on, what I wanted to share was the win, was the praise report. God has done so much through the worship ministries over time. So many people have come through. One of the challenges of people coming through is that they then move on. So a lot of our youth that came up through worship ministry went on to do something with their life, which was unwise. They should just stay here and do worship. But I'm really thankful for all the folks who've come and gone through the ministry. And what I think God was preparing us for in that was this residency program, which very much feels like what I imagine a teacher feels. These cohorts come and go, and you get to see and experience and interact with so many different people and see their skills blossom. And I'm really thankful that the program brings people like Valeria.
You guys are too kind. Well, I'm so happy and so jazzed about being back and on worship. It's been such a blessing. I am so thankful for all of the members that are on the worship team, but one request that we do have, we need more people. We need more musicians. So if you guys know, and vocalists, if you guys know anybody or if you yourselves have a little some, we would like to audition you. But yeah, that's a big need for us. We really do need more musicians. Because, we can't, all the musicians that aren't here, we're so blessed, but they can't do it, every weekend. And so we'd really love to open that up for more vocalists, more instrumentalists in our future. So if you guys have anyone in mind or if you yourselves would want to, that'd be amazing. So that's it.
And just to conclude, I need more mic time. Just to conclude, we actually have, I think it's 3 more worship leaders coming this summer for our summer program. And then in the fall, we already have at least 1 additional. So it's amazing. We're going to see a lot of worship leaders start to come in. What that means for me, I've been making this joke. Some people get it, some people don't. If you've seen the GIF or GIF, depends on how you pronounce it, of Homer Simpson slowly backing up into the shrubs, that's going to be me with worship. So I emerged 15 years ago. Mike asked me to come in as just a young metalhead to do worship, and that was amazing. And now the sun is setting. I'm for me in worship, or at least I'm going to hide in the background on guitar, drums, because the ministries need to advance. People need to step into their role. God is raising up new leaders, and I'm really excited for that person or persons. So there it is.
Okay. Adult ministries. Let's see. This last year has been tough because we had set men's Bible studies at certain times, women's groups at certain times, and so we have different groups, different titles. There is a service group, and that's like when we go to Reno and love our brothers and sisters who are experiencing homelessness, or we're going to city impacting that stuff. There is social groups, and that's like the women's hike that's happening today, and that's just community getting together. Then there are learning groups, and those are centrally focused on either a book or scripture or topic, theological constructs, stuff like that. And so those all took a hit these last couple of years because of COVID. And so some of those Zoomed, and in fact, we have a men's group that still Zooms on Tuesday mornings, but it's hard to keep that going after 2 years. And so I'm just really grateful that those couple individuals in our church stepped up and started saying, "Hey, I think I could host something again." So we had Tammy and Christy step up, and is it Wednesday nights, right? And there's a Wednesday night study that's at the front cabin, which so grateful for. And then we're going to have a chosen viewing, watching party again with Emily when we get the right room going. We started Growth Track, and that's 6 Wednesdays. And then you take a break, and then 6 Wednesdays, and take a month break, and then stuff like that. So that's been going. We had 20 people on this last Wednesday. And then we still have 2 men's groups in the morning, and Tony has a men's group that's a lunch group type thing that's on Mondays at noon. And so here's the way that these things work, is we need mature Christians to step up and start fulfilling the role that we see in the book of Titus, chapter 1. It's right. You have the older men pouring into the younger men. You have the older women pouring into the younger women. And so discipleship happens in small circles, and it can't just happen from a stage. And so I know that we've had to kind of take a hiatus, and now we're kind of getting the ball rolling again with some. And my hope is that this would become a much larger thing. I'm really grateful for Laura Moen with these social dinners. Give it up for Laura. She didn't really give me a choice either. She's like, "So we're doing social groups or dinners, and we're doing it now." And so grateful for that, Laura. She's actually holding the roster in her hand right now, I bet. I bet you that's what you're holding, is it? Yeah. That's awesome. And so let us know how you can get plugged in. And even though individuals might say, I've kind of been on the periphery, or I don't know if I have the gift of teaching, it doesn't have to be the gift of teaching. It has to be the gift of loving Jesus and following him, which we all have. And then it's just taking time to facilitate something and be a hub, to make phone calls, make texts, and just be available. So that's our groups, what we got going on. We want to get better as well about communication and about bringing people and onboarding them, and that's what Growth Track is. It is not a new believers class. That's what everyone's thinking, and it's not. This last Wednesday, just ask somebody. It was like deep and a lot. Like we were going through Hebrew and Greek, and we were going through the history of the Holy Spirit in context to Old and New Testaments. I mean, it is probably like a grad level, like biblical theology doctrinal class. But we say it in a way that even newbies can understand and hang. And so this is my way of trying to help pour into this and raise up new leaders. My hope is that people wouldn't just attend Growth Track, but they'd be inspired by it and say, maybe I could host a learning group at some point, or I could step up and be a leader in ministry, or maybe I want to join the church in membership. And so that's what we have with that. Let's see. As far as calendar events and what's going on in the future, Kate alluded to this a bit. We're trying to get a lot better at planning out our entire year in advance. So we're doing pretty good with our annual calendar right now, like even a year from now, we're finishing through this December. And so some staples that we want to have, and these are, the reason I'm saying it's kind of in conjunction with adult ministries, is to make these happen, we need adults to serve. We can't just lean on teens or kids to make this happen. And so Easter, we want Easter to be a huge opportunity, a big front door to tell our town about Jesus. And so we are trying to meet in the rec center gym every Easter. We want that to be a thing. We want the egg hunt to be better than the town's egg hunt. We want everybody to come because we're going to preach the gospel, and they're going to hear about the death and the resurrection of Jesus and the life that he promises us. So we want this Easter to be huge and epic, and if we are renting out the rec center, I mean, we're talking like 600 chairs in there. We're trying to get coffee, snacks, egg hunt in the back, people in the parking lot with signs welcoming them in. We want to get into all the schools and the newspapers. I mean, we want this not so our church grows, but so the name of Jesus is made famous and people's hearts and souls can be transformed. And so Easter is one of our main staples. So it's April, May, June, July. We want to try to leverage 4th of July. I have no idea how we could do that yet, but I know thousands of people are lined up on that street. So how can we leverage that? Thousands of people. How can we share the love of Jesus with them? Do we have a float in the parade? Do we have a water booth? I mean, I don't know. What do we want to do? A flash mob? Acting out something? Yeah, that's the one that's going to stick. Out of all this meeting, you're going to remember that terrible idea. But my point is, we don't want that all to be staff-led. I would love it if 5 people are like, man, for some reason, like when you said it, like my heart fluttered a little, like there's a fire in me. Like, great, let's do it. And help us staff resource you and have you guys be that committee and make that thing happen. July, August, September, October, Halloween handout. We want to keep expanding this, and it was cool. I talked to, when I worked the booth, I only worked for like an hour and a half this last Halloween, but I got to talk to, they're like, what kind of church is this? Like, who are you again? Where are you guys located? I talked to at least 5 different couples, and it was worth it. It was worth it. An hour and a half just to talk to 5 couples and invite them to church, tell them about Jesus. October, November, December, Christmas Eve. We want to continue to do Christmas Eve in a very unique way, and so right now it's at the train station parking lot. Maybe there's a different location that's better, but we want to make sure that people don't have to come to here. We want Jesus to go to them because that's what we see in Scripture. And so that's why we do that. And to make all those work, it takes tons and tons of volunteerism, tons and tons of committees and groups to make it happen. And so please know that we as a staff hold everything with an open hand. We're here to serve, and maybe we get paid to serve, but we want to empower and resource everybody here. And so we decided to do 2 family campouts this summer. So it's not family camp. It's just called, I think we're calling it just church campouts. The reason is because some people got that twisted thinking you had to have a family and children, like it was like kids camp. It's not. It was like church family camp, but now we're just going to call it campouts, and we're doing 2. And they're going to be Saturdays. So do we even know those dates? We know the dates. I don't know. Do we know off the top of our head? Father's Day, Saturday into Sunday? And July 23rd and 24th. And the hope is that people come Saturday morning. We have programming all day, have fun. You bring your own gear, your own food. And then then we have activities for people, then everyone goes to sleep. We wake up and we do church together. And then that church is a Sunday fun day, and you stay after for like a lunch, and we'll have a special event or something for all the people in the church family. So we're going to try to leverage that. And I have a couple people that are willing to help so far, but I'd love to have a committee of people that are like, I will really work hard for the 4th of July event, or I'll really work hard for a family camp out, or I'd love to be in the conversation of Halloween handout, or all that stuff. So let me know, but I'd love to pull you guys in to help with those big events. Voting is closing. Apparently it's closed by now. Is it on a timer, or are we just threatening people? Okay. Got it. Cool. Mission, values, affiliation. So love Mike and Karen Sampson's heart and the foundation that they poured for this church to happen. We don't give them all the credit. We give it to Jesus, but they were faithful servants, faithful vessels. And language that is used by one leader, or that is used by, a group of people, a board at a time, that doesn't mean that our mission is changing. I love it that Mike would say that this is a church for his dad who doesn't like church. Right? Mike had a very heart for those and break down scriptures for those who are new and those who are seasoned. So we're continuing in that. I don't feel like I'm here to change the mission or the vision of this church. I'm just here to make everybody do it, right? Because I want to do it. And so what we're looking at is a mission is why do we exist as believers, right? Why does the church exist? And what is the anchor? And that is the Great Commandment and the Great Commission, right? To make disciples of all nations, teaching and baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything that Jesus has commanded. I mean, that's our mission, really. That's why we're here. So we want to use language, like I said in the sermon earlier, we want to use language that's relevant that people can get and understand. And sometimes just quoting a Bible verse, it depends on the version, the translation, people don't quite get it. So we're working on that language for our mission. But then our vision should always be changing if the old one has been accomplished. And so I think part of the vision was to have a home base. And the church has this property. Part of the vision was to, see something expand or this or that, or have certain ministries. And we've been doing that. So now we're looking and we're scratching our head and we say, okay, what does Jesus want to use us for 10 years from now? What is that going to look like? What is the vision? What does God want for us? What's big? What almost seems like we would need God's help and the Holy Spirit for this thing to be accomplished. And so what we're doing right now is we're going through reassessing, looking like wordsmithing. And so Ryan, Jordan, and Tony and myself, every Wednesday, we've devoted like 2 hours from 9:30 to 11:30 just looking through and saying, now, what do we value? What does the church value? And what language can we use that with? And what's memorable for people to jump on board with? And so we're not working in a vacuum with this. We're bringing it to the board. Would love your input. I think Tony even offered a survey a while back, and we can do that again, of what do you guys love about this church? What are some things that should be in our vision? What do you guys think should missional language be? And so we want to be able to agree on something that is current, that is new, that is now, that reflects who we are today and who we should be in the future, all while honoring and celebrating the past. And so that's our mission, vision, and values. And then also our affiliation. Pastor Mike came from lineage of a Nazarene denomination. And so he himself was Nazarene, not because really of personal choice, but because of his family. That's who he grew up with. And so it made sense. A church needs an umbrella. A church needs a covering. A church needs accountability. A church needs resources. I think a church that's running solo, roughshod on its own is crazy, and that's a recipe for disaster. So when Mike moved on and retired, I kind of asked, well, who on staff is Nazarene? None of us are. Okay. Who on the board is not? None of the board was. Okay, well, how many people in the church really? Not really. So I said, so what is the point of our affiliation with the Nazarene denomination? And it was, well, that was our covering and that was our connection. That's our network, who we're with. But now we're looking and saying, okay, that was a great decision for Mike and we needed that. But is the Nazarene denomination, is that our current affiliation, and do we want to stay with it? And is there a church network, or is there again, a lot of churches are moving into networks as opposed to denominations. I said this in a sermon first. Denominations were kind of to separate and say, this is the hill that we'll die on, this is what we care about. I grew up in an Assemblies of God church. They really center on the Holy Spirit. The Nazarenes really center on holiness, right? You can have one of the Presbyterian sects really center on knowledge and education. And so you can see all these. And so we're scratching our head and saying, are we affiliated with the one that is the heartbeat of us up here in Truckee at this church? And is there one that we would partner with, or partner with us even better? And so I think to step back and ask all these questions is important. And so we've been looking at networks. There's one called ARC, A-R-C. If you want to just look it up, it's just A-R-C. It's a network of churches. And they've been planting more churches in the U.S., mainline evangelical churches, than I think any other church network. I have friends who are pastors or are part of this network, and it's really healthy, and we're exploring what would it look like to have a relationship with them. Again, we're not looking to get out of something as a church body. We're looking at who can we network and partner with that actually fits our current DNA and has the same missional and vision focus that we do. And I think it's always important to reassess that, and our board will keep talking about that. As far as vision goes, there's a lot of things that we could say for vision. That we want, the whole North Lake to hear about Jesus. That we want, all the high school students at Truckee High somehow to be hearing about Jesus. Or we want half of the high school to be involved in one nights and hear the gospel once a month. We could say all kinds of stuff with vision, and we'd like to hear what yours is too. But one thing that we have is this property. And we have a couple options. One, we leverage the heck out of it for the kingdom. Two, we sell it because it's overwhelming and we can't handle it, and Jesus should give it to somebody else. Or three, we just let it languish and do nothing. And I don't really like the last two. And so we need to keep dreaming of how we can leverage it, because this is an unbelievable gift that God has trusted to us. There's certain weeks that I just wake up, I'm so excited, and there's other weeks that I just have a crushing responsibility because I think of the parable of the talents, and it's like, are we really multiplying this property for God? Because if not, then we don't deserve it. And so with that comes a lot of vision and what should be and what could be. And so I want to invite Tony to come back up and kind of talk through maybe some of the drawings, the possibilities, some things. I think we have slides here too. So some of this may be new to you. And again, these are possibilities. They're not what's going to happen, but it's what could happen.
Sure. Can we throw up the map? I'm the map. So look at that thing. It took me hours to draw. And if you were to, we contracted out an architect to survey the land and sketch out some ideas. I apologize because this is looking from south to north, so you're really looking at the pit down here in the bottom. But I can have these copies printed out. I can send you an email with this copy. What this is, it's just a template to begin putting down our dreams. And it's got a lot of like the usual suspects. There's camping functions that have been talked about a lot here that's thrown on there. There's a new church building, where that would go if we had to build a new church, because it couldn't be down here. We're already landlocked. We're out of space for parking, for lots of things. So this is just a high level, like 15 years out. What could the property start to look like? A field. We've talked about having a field, whether indoor or outdoor. Outdoor, there is no outdoor field in Truckee, so maybe that could be used to serve the community. Maybe playground structures. Who knows? But what this allows is for us to come together, look at the site map, and just start dreaming and thinking and talking and looking at what's possible to, like as Terrence said, leverage this property for ministry. And like Terrence said, if we can't leverage this property for ministry, cool. Let's sell it and let's do something else. Let's just be effective at whatever we're doing. Yeah, I don't know if I need to say any more on that, but yeah, the architect then went on to compile pictures of what the feel and look would be like, and that's nerdy aesthetic stuff. If you care about that, you can throw that up, Jordan, and whatever. It's a Tahoe feel. We're in Tahoe for a reason, and we're going to leverage that. So a lot of this is just, again, design ideas. What is it going to look and feel like? It's going to feel like Tahoe. It's going to be wood, steel, stone. You know, that's what we're going to do. So we won't plant palm trees. We probably won't do stucco kind of thing. So, yeah.
So these are just some ideas, but yeah, so like an indoor sports field, if we wanted to turf that out and like rent that to all the sports teams in town and all the schools and take all that money that's generated and build hospitals all over the world or orphanages or whatever, or give it to missionaries. I mean, who knows? If we want to do that, resident housing to expand that so we could have co-ed at the same time. Right now we have one house. The amphitheater, we just want to improve the shade sale. That's pretty cool. We already did that. And then if this building became a youth center that had tutoring after school, that had a Christian middle school, that was used all week, and then this is where the youth come and hang out. Like they're talking about building the library in town and having a youth center. We'll see. But this could be leverage for that. And then if we did that, then we'd want to build a different auditorium. We don't have to do that either. The maintenance yard that we have, we probably need a garage or some kind of covering from the elements with all the machines and stuff that we have to move snow and stuff here. We need an entrance sign. Do we want to pave the road coming down in the parking lot? The fire department has asked us to, because it's hard for them to access this down on the gravel road. That's why we can't build anything else down here either. Everything else that we're going to have to add square footage has to be somewhere else on the property. Camping, how serious are we? Do we want bathrooms and showers like a national park? Do we want an outdoor barbecue area when you go down by the river because of fire bans? Do we want to do like a built-in propane fire pit with like logs around us so men's Bible studies, women's groups can all hang out down there? Do we want tent platforms at the bend, and then we could have camping sites that people could come and groups could actually use? These are all questions that we just want to ask, but we don't want to just be content with what is. We don't want to like glamp this thing out either. We want to be responsible, but it's just like, Jesus, what do you want us to do? Like, there's so many possibilities. And so just so you know, these are possibilities, but we'd want the whole church to get behind them and the order that we do them and how much they cost, and then what is the purpose of it? Like what is the ROI for the kingdom? Are souls going to be touched? Are people going to grow? Are they going to be discipled? All that stuff. And so that's part of the vision, and that's just vision of the property, not even vision of I don't know, do we want another campus? Do we want a house church in Verdi? 2 house churches, it's really healthy. We have a lot of people that just moved there. I don't know, like what do we want to do? And so as a staff, we're working hard on this. As a board, we're going to be working hard on this year. But as a church family, as involved as you want to be, like, let me know, and we can dream and do this together. Okay, that is that. Now it's time for Q&A. And so we're going to have anybody ask questions. Think about it. If you have a question, you're like, I don't know, is this just for me? Someone else in the room may not have thought of it, but they'd love to hear the answer. So Feel free to ask questions. I might answer some. I might have some of our staff, depending if they specialize in that field, or even our board. And then we're going to close in prayer. Cool. So start thinking through. Anybody have questions on anything that we've said, or maybe something that we haven't even said, or any input on stuff? Yes. Yes. Yeah, ARC is association-related churches. And again, if you don't think of it right now, but you think of it later, call, email, let's set up a meeting, all that stuff. Do you want to talk money or do you want me to? Both can? Oh, Ryan, yeah, come on over. So, Ryan, come on up. Yeah. So Ryan's salary comes out of our staff salaries, or what is that line item? Personnel. Comes out of personnel, but the cost to be able to run the program and do all the things.
Yeah, we've been blessed to have a number of families support the program. That goes from as caring as dropping off food, hosting folks over, and then donating sometimes to stock the shelves. When new residents come in, we'd like to welcome them with food, and people pour into the residents that way. There's a family that's a member of this church that really believes their heart is with equipping the next generation of leaders, especially women in leadership and women in ministry. And as you know, we've had to alternate really our cohorts from gender because we only have the house to use. And so one of the projects we're considering is expanding housing on campus for whether it's the TRLP program or something else that the church would use it for. And so a family contributed scholarship money to help those students attend. And it was a game changer for the program because as we were going through this for the first time, I recognized that if we were going to be looking at all these other programs in the country, other programs were running similar programs that were free. And we were the first year charging our residents. We thought it was a great deal. We were like, okay, we're getting $3,000 to get to live in Tahoe and be here and have us pour into them. Thank you, Evan. I don't know where, if you're watching, thanks for your contribution. But it was a game changer for the program. So this gift from the family was really allowed us to give that gift to the residents where they didn't have to pay. They had housing. In the summer, they had a small meal stipend. And so it was a game changer for the direction and momentum of the program to be able to allow that. And that was more or less from one family that really felt moved to do that. As it relates to how it affects other ministries, Tony could talk about whether or not, I think within giving, folks recognize the importance to the general ministry fund and what we do, right? And then other people are moved because of something that they really want to see or have. And so I can't speak for the family, whether or not they would have given the same amount for the church if the program didn't exist. We don't know that, right? But this was something that was really on their heart and they wanted to see succeed and grow. So for that, we're grateful and we're continuing to see that support and see the fruit that comes from it.
As far as the second part of the question, and does it negatively impact or does it leave a void or something in men's and women's ministry? Take away from? I think it's how you look at it, and it's what you see value in. For example, the things that this church does, you kind of heard Kate's 12. You heard like hours, 12 hours, 8 hours, 6 hours, 16 hours. It's really tough to be able to pay someone a full-time wage to be able to live up here. Ryan already owned a house, already had a job, and so he was able to transfer over here because it's going to be hard to move someone in. And so we as a staff kind of realized that our personnel budget is only going to be this, and we can only have so many paid employees. And so to also have men and women who love Jesus, who've graduated Bible college, who want to go into full-time ministry, come, and they live in that house, and their scholarship through the program, that was not really a no-brainer, but man, our staff just like doubled. because of it. And so we're really grateful. And then our hope and responsibility to these individuals is to pour into them, but we also have an expectation that they serve the church. And they serve the church in most capacities, from nursery to kids to helping with growth track to service groups to, I mean, you name it. Telena's helping with mission over me. Valeria's doing worship. We have social media. I mean, we have all young adults. We have one nights running all these things. And so that's what we have right now. And I also think certain demographics can minister to certain demographics because of what they know and who they are. And so I think you need to minister to the area and the demographic that you're relevant to and that you have the ability to. And so having our residents, could they lead a women's Bible study? I think so, with my oversight and helping them into that, or a men's Bible study. Sure, I mean, they'll be facilitating something for men that are twice their age, but I think it would be good for them. And if you're anointed, you're anointed. And so I think that we can be more strategic in that and be more pointed and think through that. So yeah, I think that's a great question, and I don't think it's a hindrance to it, but it's definitely on my radar that we need like community life, somebody to help with groups, to help with men's, to help with women's. I mean, that's really what I think is a void that we need to start filling in and focusing on too. Yeah. The second one, the answer to the second question is you go on our website and you watch the DNA series. And this is all set on our website, and we have pieces of paper that have like step by step how to do this. Lena put this together this last week. You watch that, you take notes, you write down questions, and then right now we are not doing big membership classes because it's more of like a rolling admission type thing, as it were. I have a couple right now that I'm talking to about membership. And then after that, we get together with me and we talk through. And I tell them our doctrinal distinctives, where we are theologically. I ask them questions. And then to be a member of the church, we had it. Tina, do we have that piece of paper, that certificate? Remember you printed some and we cut them? It says what covenant relationship you'll have with us as a church and what the accountability and expectations are. And I can read that to you right here. So here it is, certificate of membership. Print name is now a member of our church family. I've committed my life to Jesus and have placed my trust in him for salvation. I've watched the 4-part DNA sermon series explaining the culture, doctrine, community, and fit of Tahoe.Church. I commit to supporting the culture of the church. I commit to abide by the doctrine of the church. I commit to faithfully be present and authentic in the community of the church. I commit to generously support the church with my time, abilities, and finances. I commit to actively serve and fit in at least one area of ministry of the church. So those are these right now. We have these printed out if anybody wants to see them. But that's what we're asking someone to commit to if they're a part of the church. What it is it's being accountable. And it's saying I'm willing to speak into someone else's life, like we read in Matthew 18, to call someone else on their sin. And I'm opening myself up to be sharpened, honed, and corrected as well. And so it's willingly putting yourself into this community as an act of service and openness and approachability. How many members do we have? Well, it's been a crazy 2 years. I think what we could do is go through our membership list. We use a database called Planning Center, and it has people's names and addresses, emails, all that stuff. And then I think there's a box next to it or a tag that says either they're a member or they're not. And so I remember when I first came here, so I've been here for over 4 years. So I think it was maybe 1 year in, we did the DNA series, and at the end, and we had like 50-something people join membership that Sunday. And there was that push, and then Tina and I, we had like a clipboard and wrote everyone's name down, and then we went through and entered that into Planning Center. But now there's people that have moved, people that aren't part of the church anymore, so we need to recount, and that's part of what we're doing this year too, is kind of reassessing, is our membership process good, and do we have accurate numbers? Oh, Florence in the back, and then Jamie. Yeah. Have I given any thought to establishing a bus ministry? I haven't given much thought to it. My uncle, Dan Rothwell, the church that he was at in Fargo, North Dakota, he was lead pastor. They had 8 to 10 buses. I think they had 12 buses. And they would go around to the poorest neighborhoods in all Fargo and bring kids and people in for church. It's awesome. There was also a church of like 6,000. So it's expensive. But we could look into the bus lines here in town. I know that they're free, right? And then there are some chartered things that are free too. So we could look into it, but not all the way down from Reno up here. but maybe some kind of carpool thought or idea when it's hard to get here. Or maybe even local, like church from home with like some neighbors. Like I know Tahoe Donner might be hard certain Sundays, or maybe Verdi might be hard, and so some kind of home church idea. Yeah. Yeah, I actually spoke to Tara Vaughn about that for Christmas in Truckee, because they went and did meals and we did Christmas presents for the seniors in town out of our church budget. And a lot of them said, well, can I come to the Christmas Eve service, but I can't drive. And so we're talking with Tara about doing a shuttle service for the local senior apartments in town for our Christmas Eve service. So the church's official name is Truckee Tahoe Forest Church of the Nazarene. And so when we reevaluate our affiliations and what we do, we'll need to have a name change anyway with that. The second thing is really it's kind of a design thing. When we started doing hats and we started doing church stickers or we started doing whatever, Tahoe Forest Church was really small and hard to read. Tahoe.Church is our domain to how to get to our website. It's our email as well. It's shortened a lot of things. Terrence at Tahoe.Church. And so Tahoe.Church, one, is just for simplicity's sake, for viewability, for ease of speaking. And I don't know if this has happened to you, but since I came here, I've only been here for over 4 years, but Tahoe Forest Health System is huge. Tahoe Forest Hospital is huge. Tahoe Forest Physical Therapy, I mean, it is a juggernaut. And I know that there was some issue, I mean, Jason, maybe you could actually speak into this, that they weren't super keen on this church using the name Tahoe Forest, right? Was that? Yeah, so it was a big issue. There was a legal dispute in that. And that's not, neither here nor there anymore. But when people ask, hey, like, what do you do? And like at my kid's soccer practice, or when Kate and I met a couple, this just happened. They said, oh, where does your husband work? And she said, Tahoe Forest Church. And she goes, oh, how long has he been working for the hospital? Seriously. And that's happened to me 3 other times. And so it's not maybe that if we've been around, we're like, oh, I never thought that would be a thing. It kind of is here and there. And then, Tony, did you want to speak into this at all? Or no? No, in fact, some people are passionate about it. Some people are indifferent to it. I think we have to, we have to edit our name at some point, no matter what, because Truckee Tahoe Forest Church of the Nazarene, I don't even know what that is as an acronym. And then the other thing, too, is I really appreciate people saying, like, if I could name a church any name, I'd name it Jesus Church, because I'm making you say the name Jesus and I'm making you say church. But if you say, what church do you go to? Or I go to Bayside. Okay, or I go to this, but like they're leaving out the important words, which the important words are church and Jesus. And so I think a lot of times when people say, what church do you go to? It's either TFC, because it's short, it's an acronym, or it's Tahoe Forest. But we don't say the name Jesus or the word church in that. And so I'd like to not make people, I just think it's important to do that. So it's just some thoughts. But again, it's up for discussion. If everyone's like, nope, we're Tahoe Forest Church, not of Truckee of the Nazarene, but Tahoe Forest, then we're Tahoe Forest Church. Awesome. Or if it's like, I kind of don't care, whatever it works, it's less of a mouthful, Tahoe.Church, great. But those are the two options. We either edit out the word forest or we stay Tahoe Forest Church, but either way, we have to edit our name. Yes, Angie. Yeah. Yeah, no, thank you for the insight. Possibly so. And again, we have this whole year to discuss all this.
I was just coming up as a board member to just say, we need your input. And you're not going to always hear this from staff, because what inevitably happens so many times is we make a decision after throwing it out there to the church congregation, and we make that decision, and then all of a sudden we're going to get criticism. And that's just true with any organization. But it's powerful that you provide us your input. And if you think of a way to do that, maybe it's a link on the website, we need to know from you. And you're not always going to hear that from staff, because staff's sometimes walking on eggshells with something like that. But we need you guys. We need your voice. We need you to ask these questions. So these questions are great. Because as a board, there's so many times where we're going, I don't know. And then I hear Tony going, well, I put it out on the website. Should we do more? And sometimes we need to do more. We need to throw it out there more to you guys, some of these big decisions. But we need you to speak up. Yeah, with that, I'll give it to my wife. No, you can.
Sure. No, I think that's a very real thing. I think, and I'll say it this way, and then I'll get into the practical. I think Satan had a heyday these last 24 months. I think he was celebrating the division via politics, via our nation leadership, and via this COVID thing. Absolutely dug his fangs into the neck of the church. Now, I'm not, and also race, racial recognition, injustice, and all of these things. We have not done everything perfect, and that's a very overstatement. We haven't gotten everything right. I don't think that we as a church have made major missteps, and so if there was a causation on a misstep or a fault or a sin of the church or the church leadership, then things might make more sense to me. Although I would ask for grace before someone's just like, you made one mistake, I'm leaving. If it's habitual, I understand. So the individuals that have come and talked to me, which I really respect, that said, hey, we're going to transition to a different church. We hugged and we cried. I'm not going to say their names, it's online. And I gave them my individual blessing, whatever that's of value, right? Just one of the team, for where they are. And so some of those reasons have varied from, hey, there's a really small little church Bible study of 10 people, and if we went there, then they could really use us as a foundation, like leaders of the church. And I'm like, absolutely. There are others that have been, hey, I just don't think you guys did enough when it came to Black Lives Matter, when it came to race. You guys didn't preach enough sermons about it. You didn't have enough on your website. You didn't do this, this, and this. And so if that's not on your heart, that's not your DNA, we're leaving. We've had that conversation. There's been others that are like, you guys, you're the only church in town that's making people wear masks. You're the only church in town that's fully virtual. I need to see people. I need to see smiles. I need to face-to-face. It's that simple. I need to go to church that's not going to do that. That also happened. Then there are others that have moved, like the Petersons, right, that are in Montana, living life. And so there's a myriad of reasons, but if there was a linear line that I could draw that everyone's saying the same thing, that would be of concern. But that's not the case. It's an individual basis. And then I've had that conversation. Tony's had those meetings with a couple people. But otherwise, I don't notice all who's here and who's not. And so that's the important point of friendship and relationship is not, we don't take attendance, right? When they're middle and high school students, we can make them check in at an iPad on Tuesdays. And if they don't come for 2 weeks, we can email them. Maybe our church starts taking attendance. I don't know. Maybe we have a fob check. I have no idea. But if somebody's not here for 3 months and don't quite notice, and maybe like, hey, man, I wasn't there for 3 months. Nobody called me, texted me. Nobody even noticed. I could see how that'd be hurtful, but we can't just depend on like centralized staff to remember or to notice because we're the ones like running around with TVs and doing stuff too. So yeah, I think that we could totally improve on that, and that is the reality of this last year and the reality of our church. Anyone else want to give input on that? Or? Yeah, and I also want to encourage you and empower you to speak up if you see someone, if you miss someone, if someone's not around, or to ask questions, and don't just say, well, I'll let somebody who gets paid to do that. But like you guys do that as well. If there's somebody that you've known for a long time, like I noticed the Farnells weren't here this morning. Calling you out, Nate, right now. Better not be skiing. So I'll check on Nate this afternoon. Don't you worry.
Anyhow, this article surveyed churches, pastors, and a lot of pastors are leaving the church, not their church, but the church. And it's showing that they're just walking away from the ministry. So I think as part of the lead team and part of the church, it's so important that we support our pastors because it's definitely a calling. Why else would you do it? Um, it's tough. It's really tough to be a pastor. And it's really tough to be a pastor today. So part of the lead team and part of, I think, the church body is that we need to support our pastors as well, and that they are human, that we're all imperfect, but we serve a perfect God.
And let's do this. Let's take a pause on this because we can be around and hang out too. But did we have the lead team nominees get up and say an area of ministry or an area of calling or something that they love about this church and this or that? I'd love just for you guys to at least hear an introduction, and I am actually putting you on the spot, lead team, but this was on the agenda, I think. Love for you just to get up, introduce yourself, how long you've been about this church, and just something that's unique or sweet or a passion or arena of your relationship with Jesus or relationship or interest in this church. Even Jason? Did Jason get in? What? Standards have gotten Cool. Jason, you want to go first? Since you're a fast processor.
Hello, I'm Jason LaChance. Jamie and I have been going, that's my beautiful wife that hopefully I didn't tick off just recently. But no, Jamie and I have been going here since, I think we started attending spring of 2004, maybe late winter of 2003. So we've been here quite a while. Some of the first people we met were the Farnells. the Walshes. We've been here a while. I've just loved this church, and I've grown to love it more and more throughout the years. I think the first 5 or 6 years it was kind of rocky, and then the Millers came. No, just kidding. No, there was some rocky times as well with this church. I think just discovering where we should be. But I've just loved Terrence giving me the opportunity to yap quarterly and actually come up and preach every once in a while. And my wife and I just love the possibilities of this church for our 2 children. And I think family is huge, and that's what we even originally liked about this church is we saw families like the Vaughns and who now have kids that are grown up, but some of the other, the Fittiments as well, and that was just really positive for us. So,
Natalie, would you be willing to come up? And then Christy, you're obviously next.
So my name is Natalie. My husband and I, we've been coming to this church for probably about 4 years. We moved from the Sacramento area, and in Sacramento, we were part of a church for, I think it was 12 years, and I was on staff as the director of professional counseling. And so we came here, and it was just so apparent that God wanted us here. And there's something so special about this church and about the leadership and about the pastors that we just, once we stepped foot in here, that was it. We made our decision, and we knew we were supposed to be here. And so I remember it was the membership sermon, and I felt like the Lord said, you need to go talk to him and volunteer and be in the office. And I said, really? But I did, and I went up to him, and he said, yeah, come on Tuesday. And so I was part of staff helping with odds and ends of things that needed to happen, whether it was admin or working with the town for Christmas in Truckee, doing the permitting for that, whatever they needed. And so from there, it kind of morphed into being on the lead team. And so I count it as a huge privilege and a blessing to be a part of this church, and to, like, this year as we're really looking and asking questions of our identity, looking forward to seeing what God has in store for us. So, yeah.
Thank you, Natalie. We're glad you're here, too. Mrs. Morgan.
Hello, my name is Mrs. Morgan. I also find it a privilege to be on the lead team. God equips the called, right? What's the saying, Terrence? I don't feel like I'm equipped to be on the lead team, to be honest with you. But I do feel like God's not calling me to leave it. He's telling me to grow in it. This will be my 3rd year on the lead team. And the first year I just kind of sat there and nodded my head, went, trying to figure it out. And I have found my voice. And I am trying to grow as a church leader. I want to support the next generations, bring unity to our church and connection, structure, because you might have only heard of this conversation about being Nazarene or not being Nazarene, but we've been talking about it on the board for quite a while now. And it's unsettling not to have a structure. So I think that's going to be one of my passions, is finding that structure. And it doesn't have to be like the Pharisees and the Sadducees type structure. It's not legalism, but we still need to be accountable and to function under that. Hold staff accountable. The care ministry is huge on my heart, not to let anybody slip through the cracks. Discipleship, counseling, and growth. That's a place that I need to grow in so that I can grow others. And because I have gray hair now, it's my time to do that. And just to see where we're fruitful and where we're not, and to trim off what we're not, I'm a gardener, so I get that one. And to be a person of integrity on the board, and let my yes be yes and my no be no, and not to try to play both sides of the fence, which in my codependency I'm quite good at. So I do find it a privilege to be up here. I don't find it easy. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. And you have the bio for David Connor. I've known him since I've been here. Really respect him, and I don't think you guys know this, but there have been young men that have wanted to be mentored by me, and I can't disciple all of them, and I've given some of them to Dave, and he calls them weekly. He meets with them. He takes them out for coffee and lunch, and so he's been doing that. He's also been teaching. He went to Bible school, been teaching at another church, been on finance teams before. I just think a solid man of God, and I really think the world of his daughter. And then he stepped into teaching Growth Track, and I respect it and what he does and as how he serves. And so we were going to, I think you know this, we were going to have Bruce. I asked him to be on the board of directors, and he's let me pray about it, this and that. But this season in life, he came back and said, I said yes, but it's just, I don't think it's right for me and Trish at the moment, which is totally fine. And then David Connor was next on my list. And here's the other thing, too. If you're like, I would love to be considered for that. I would be open if someone wanted to nominate me. Then let's start doing that, because I think a healthy church always has a bullpen, is always raising up somebody. And so we keep saying generations, but it's everyone. It's not just age-centric. It's maturity in Christ. And so let us know that. And there's some new faces, and I don't even know everyone yet, but it'd be really nice for us to keep working together and seeing who can step up and lead and who wants to do this or that. And again, this dialogue, this is the first one of this format, of this type of session. We're going to have another one March, April, May. I think it's the second Sunday in May. On Mother's Day, highly attended. Most highly attended family meeting. Yeah. So that'll happen in May. But let this dialogue continue with each other, with our board members, with our staff. Again, our goal in this is to be better than we were. And we want to operate out of humility. And you're right, our communication has not been great. And letting people in behind the curtain has not been great. And we want to. We want to be great at it. And so giving input and asking tough questions is fine. We don't want this to be defensive or to give you a sly reply. We really just want us to do this together, because we're supposed to. And so love you guys. Appreciate you for doing this meeting. And Pastor Jordan, would you like to close us in prayer? And if not, will you do it anyway? A quick question, yes. So women's has Wednesday night group right now. There's a women's hike going on today. There's a women's prayer thing going on at Allie Hall's house once a month. There's a young adult women's group that's at the McDermott's house that Jenny McDermott hosts. And that's just off the top of my head for women's. For men's, there is an in-person thing at Wagon Train. There is a Zoom thing that morning. There is a Monday thing lunch that Tony does. And then there is a Tuesday night thing here on the property. And I've been talking to Justin Fitteman, and we're planning a men's getaway coming up this spring, and we're looking at speakers and camps. To my knowledge, in the 4.5 years that I've been here, the men's ministry have never really had like a men's leadership committee. I just met with Brent, Justin, who else was at it? Chris, and somebody else to try to talk about men's and put some events on the calendar and stuff. And women's has come and gone. It's been like Pat Post and Terry, and then sometimes they meet, and sometimes they don't. And so, yeah, again, we need to get better. But those are all like lay-led stuff. But yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Emily.
Will you pray with me? God, thank you for your faithfulness to us. Thank you for your faithfulness to Truckee and your faithfulness to Tahoe.Church and the way that you've been working through our leadership and through the many people in the congregation who've been loving and caring for this community for many years. God, you are good to us, and we're looking forward to the ways that you continue to work through our church and in our community for many more years to come. So, God, would you give each of us a renewed energy and excitement for the gospel and for your son, God. And more than anything, God, would you continue to save people. God, we want to see people who are far from you come close. And we want you to use us for that, God. So would you equip us? Would you continue to burn in us and give us that desire to make your son's name famous? God, we love you. We pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
that is all she wrote for now, folks. We really appreciate your time. And now, if the board could stay, we're going to have a meeting after this. But really, Tina, everybody look, there's Tina. Raise your hand, Tina. Tina, okay, yeah. Deserves applause. Tina could probably use help with the outdoor lobby to get some stuff in. So if you're like, hey, I can lift a couple things, move a couple things, just ask her. She'll tell you where things go. That would really help us out because we didn't get to clean that up after service. Oh, and all the chairs. So, Jordan, for one night, you want all these chairs stacked against this wall?
At least those 2 rows.
Okay, so let's do the side sections. Stack the chairs against that wall for us. If you would be so helpful if you could. Thank you.